another special episode tonight. We've got the full gang here, and we're going to be talking some shit. And this time we're going to talk about our favorite album production, top 5.
Just all album production of all time.
Just album. So,
go ahead.
Sam, why don't you tell people what you consider to be like a good album production?
Okay, well that's because the topic was first presented to me as this like good album, so it's a subjective like what I consider. Okay.
Yeah, top
like,
5 metal
It
production.
depends from the genre to genre. I generally don't, as a general rule, I don't like things to be so clean. Like even though I love Brain Drool, so it's kind of a bad example. Like how it's very quantized and very.
But
sterile,
you like pink clicks and fucking like maybe a flub note here.
I
and
like
there,
say like Dan Sweno, like Edge of Sanity. But it's kind of muddy, but you can still hear everything going on. I like that a lot.
So production would be the overall sound of the record, not necessarily the playing or the songs or anything like that.
Right.
It's just however they catch, like the guitars, the drums, the vocals, bass, all that.
Definitely, I would have to go with that kind of production, like Dan Sweno's style, where it's very rooted in Sweet Death, but it's not so like chainsaw-y, HM2 sound all the time.
Right.
And I also like, I guess whoever produces a lot of Opeth records.
Yeah.
I like the way they're especially their mid to later growl era stuff. Sounds.
Let's go ahead and get started. Why don't you rattle off one of your top 5?
A record that is good.
Yeah, we're doing albums.
Okay. Oh, we're doing albums. Okay,
yeah.
Hell yeah. Then I'm gonna go with Dan Sweno's Moon Tower.
Nice.
Off the rip.
Yeah.
Is this? Are you doing like 5 to 1 or is that?
It doesn't matter. It's however you want.
I would say if this is not necessarily number 1. This is one of my favorite records of all time. Period. It's great because he's got he's got what turns out to be not analog keys and synths, but they sound so warm and like and we all know what analog shit sounds like.
No.
So, anyways, but it's great stuff, and you can also hear a lot of like.
Actually, we're talking about that the other day. Where like even analog like electronics, like synthesizers and shit like that, if they're analog, they sound more organic.
Oh yeah,
just like,
absolutely.
The space bar.
You get like a Moog synthesizer.
And I'm not even trying to
like
talk
that,
shit on the space bar shit. I'm just saying it
No,
sounds more
yeah.
organic. Yeah.
Or like even a Mellotron or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Some shit
That's
like
got a very distinct sound.
Definitely,
I'm
definitely.
the first metal theremin player.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I'd put Dan Sweno Moon Tower's got to be up there. I would also say I'm gonna go Protest the Hero Fortress.
Oh.
Which is that's one of my favorite albums again, period of all time. One of my favorite bands of all time, and I don't know who produced it, but it's like there's a lot of shit going on at pretty much all times in that record, and you can hear everything if you just bend your ear. The bass, everyone is going nuts at some point.
Right.
You just bend your ear to hear it, you can hear it, and it's clear. It comes through right through. So that's one of the best prog metal albums ever made, in my opinion. So all right, then let's go. I'm gonna say I don't know if this counts as prog metal.
It doesn't have to be prog metal. It's just the sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just got to be the sound that I like.
No, I'm not even gonna lie. Like I'm really confused. Are we doing prog or prog?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Albums? What was
No,
that?
it's just I read too much into that.
They were like, "Hey man, production of prog," and I was like, "Fuck, I don't know shit about prog."
Prog is a different category we'll be hitting up.
Yeah, that was my mistake that I was sticking to prog.
No,
Okay.
thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
I now have something to add to this conversation at some point.
Right.
Okay, so then I would also say, honestly, and this record just came out recently, but it's fucking fantastic, much in the way that Vitriol was last year for me, because it's just like death metal the way I think it should be done. Glorious Depravity, Ageless Violence.
Okay.
It's fucking off the chain. The dude Doug Moore, it does vocals also for Piron and Weeping Sores, both of which are also very good bands. And the riffs obviously, and this is production, so it doesn't have to do with the riffs so much, but the riffs are fucking great, the fucking vocals are great, and the production is just dirty enough where it's not like, oh, this is fucking sterile and bullshit, like Canadian Tech Death Clean. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's got the dirt on it. So, but it's not so nasty. It's not so muddy that you can't make out. It's not like Siege Column dirty. But to that point though, I'm gonna go with motherfucking Emperor in the Night Side Eclipse for a whole different reason.
I'm like, I love that fucking album.
For a whole different. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that's bold, and I love that album, but I would have gone with Anthems to the Velkin at Dusk.
For production quality,
Yeah.
sure, okay, and that's fine.
That's just me though.
No, that's fine, and I can totally understand why. And honestly, like that album gets kind of hard to listen to me for me at times unless I have like nice headphones or nice speakers.
Right.
Because there's so much treble.
Kind of a sonic assault.
There is so it sounds like bees. But like it's so quintessentially what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's the album to me that and Storm of the Lights, Bane by Dissection embody like the black metal sound production wise to me.
But In the Night Side Eclipse is an amazing record.
But In the Night Side Eclipse is amazing. Isan, shouts to Isan, OG, triple OG.
Yeah, rocking the turtletnecks.
Rocking the turtlenecks and the fucking Weezer glasses and fucking yeah. Another Black Star player. Respect. And is that 4? I've named 4.
That's
right?
4. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's go with. I'm gonna go. I keep going to Prague, and I don't need to do that.
Right.
That's the mistake I keep
metal.
making. Okay. You know what? I really like the production on the original production. It was Devin Townsend on Lamb of God as the Palace is Burned.
Yeah, that was Devin Townsend.
Yes, yeah.
And that's my favorite Lamb of God album.
The one after is my favorite, but I can't argue with that being anyone's favorite. It's amazing. It's an amazing. All the first 3 are unimpeachable amazing albums. So those are my 5. That's my 5.
Right on. Well, I'm going kind of sequentially in order from earliest to latest.
Okay.
And I just tried to go with what I thought was just iconic, great production that fit. Maybe not necessarily like the best thing, but it just like perfectly fit what the band was doing.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
So,
that's the whole idea, right? Because if you think about like let's say old school death metal or whatever, so if the production, the materials that they use or the amplifiers or like whatever the mixing techniques that is being used in the making of that album, if it suits that genre and if it suits that time period, then that would be a good production.
Yeah.
So like that is the metric that we're going on.
Yeah.
Or even like,
you know what? In that light, real quick, I'm gonna switch out Glorious Depravity for Pantera Vulgar Display of Power.
That's solid. There we go.
There you go.
I was like, you know what? That is what you hear that guitar
I
sound.
would also argue though that production can even mean like certain producers that invented genres.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Certainly,
You know, like,
absolutely.
See, because for example, like if you look at the entire Pantera catalog, right? So scooping the mids and using a parametric EQ was introduced by them.
Oh yeah,
You know, like,
absolutely.
kind
And
of
also
shaped,
the sound of the kicks that Vinny was.
To a
was
degree,
good.
you could argue that Metallica on Injustice for All kind
yeah.
of, but it was around the same time,
Yeah.
kind of sort of, because Cowboys from Hell came out in '90, if I'm not mistaken, and so did Injustice for All around '90. But anyways,
Yeah.
so
But
I believe it's
Every Metallica album to me, for some reason, came out in 1988, and I don't know why. I know I'm not right, but like that's just how it is.
but for me,
Yeah.
starting back, I got to go with Black Sabbath, Master Reality.
Ooh!
I think that
was
sound
Interesting choice.
perfectly captured the Sabbath sound.
Well, they did catapulted, like
Strong.
Black Sabbath, like had their own sound on their first album, which is classic, obviously, but like Master of Reality is like we are not fucking around
Yeah,
here.
this is the one.
Yeah.
Coming on strong.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We're that band.
So that was
Yeah.
it. And then what you guys were just talking about, for me, it's Metallica Ride the Lightning.
Ooh!
I think the sound, now,
Over Master.
the Overmaster,
Bold.
and I love both, and I love the first one.
Yeah.
And I love the first one, but is that second album? I think there's just a tone to it, specifically like the guitars and the drums that they were never able to
But it's
reproduce.
only guitars and drums, though.
Wait, I have a point to add to that. The reason why it sounds the way it sounds is because that was the first time Metallica was using, Mark C2+, the amplifiers with different.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they were kind of switching between triple
They're
count.
using essentially brand new technology.
Yeah. They were switching between like rectifiers and like Mesa boogie. I'm sorry, the mini boogies and stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
each one has its own sonic quality,
Right.
Those Mark
So,
IIs, by the way,
yeah,
sound
sound
amazing.
amazing.
Those are such good amps.
That's the reason, like you hear that distinct, high treble, like kind of a.
But it's still got that mid punch in
Yeah.
it. But it's got it's got a lot of treble information without being, like I said, Night Side Eclipse. It's like.
I'm not gonna lie, I talk a lot of shit about Metallica just in daily life, but like James Hetfield's guitar tone, whoever got him there,
Yeah.
deserves
Possibly the
accolades.
best
Yeah.
rhythm guitarist that has ever lived in metal.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Like,
But
No, I totally back that
to
up.
me that
Yeah.
Ride the Lightning album, the sound, not like the songs are legendary too, but I mean specifically the sound to me just captured something magical that no one else did.
That's your second.
I'm just giving you shit because there was no bass player on that fucking album.
No, that was Injustice for All.
Oh no, you're right. That was Injustice for All.
And then the third one for me is Morbid Angel Covenant. I think that for me was the death metal album that really put death metal like square on the map, and just the sound of it still is, I just love it. Like I think it's better sound than Blessed Are the Sick or Domination.
It's definitely better than Domination. I like Blessed Are the Sick song, but as production wise, the sound, the Covenant is definitely better. I have to agree. Especially like God of Emptiness. Like, God, dude,
there's a footstep in production. I'm actually going to bring this up on my list. This is the only reason I'm doing this. But like, there is a certain point, and a producer is usually responsible for this, where a fad becomes a sound. You know what I mean? Like, this is no longer like fly by night, like, flavor of the week.
Sure.
It's now like a legit thing.
Well, especially like if you go back to that time period when death metal was new. And, you go back to even like the Morrisound sound, which is great, but it's really, really difficult to record death metal because there's so much going on. It's so busy. And you go back to some of those early recordings and
they were doing that shit on tape.
And man, some of those early recordings are rough.
See,
dude. That Covenant sound, which I believe is still the top selling death metal album of all time.
Is that a Morrisound record?
Covenant?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it? Okay.
Angel the top selling death metal record of all time.
Really?
I believe they did for a while. I don't know if it still is.
You are right. It was.
It could be different now, but I know
like
going
over
back
2 decades.
Yeah,
it
like
was fucking
I'm not surprised, but I didn't know that. I guess it's noteworthy. That's pretty crazy.
And then for me, number 4 is a European Hypocrisy Virus.
I love it.
I knew you were going to say Hypocrisy.
The main guy from Hypocrisy, Peter Takrin, he records a lot of bands on the Nuclear Blast label. Mm-hmm. He's a terrific producer. He's got many side projects and stuff like that. And I love a lot of Hypocrisy's work.
Once did the vocals for Bloodbath, which is a fantastic
But Virus is the album where they got Horg from Immortal on drums. And for me, that sound is just so punchy and clear and precise, and it's just like it's kind of an anomaly in their catalog.
Yeah. That is a good sounding album. Yeah, like that is not a bad album. It's not my biggest thing, but that sound, everything he produces sounds great. Yeah, like everything. So
and then my last one is when I first heard it, it blew me away. But it's Dimmu Borgir, Puritanical Euphoric Misanthropia.
I had never heard black metal presented like that.
I still haven't heard an album that I think sounds as crystal clear as that, with everything that's going on, with crazy blast beats and symphonic, like true symphony, not like plugged-in symphony.
Oh no, legitimate, all these
like we hired violinists.
Because back then, of course, just a decade back, they didn't really have VSTs that could do it that effectively.
No.
So they just had to,
especially in Norway.
Yeah. So can you imagine the logistics that are involved in even like doing that?
So
when I was doing Bone Dog, we used a children's choir one time, and like it sounded awesome on the album, but the actual day was a clusterfuck. Like I can't.
When you have that many individual voices singing at once, like if one person's off, the whole shit is nothing.
And they've never practiced this shit before. Like this.
What's
kids? Not even just kids, but I mean like these guys, even the ones they hired, they probably got that music like 2 weeks before they got.
Well, unless you have like A1 studio musicians, they're not going to be able to just rip it off right there. So that's a great fucking pick.
Also, the acoustics and everything should be just right. Otherwise, it's gonna be shit. So
if you don't have a good mix environment, it doesn't matter how good your shit is. It's all going to sound like.
So, Krishna, what's yours?
Yes, I had to think a lot about this. So actually,
Krishna did a deep dive.
In my defense, I was informed that I would be on the episode less than an hour ago.
Right.
So, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah. So this is like a 5-1 in a certain order.
So starting at the bottom, going to the top.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah. So number 5 would be Keith Merrow's "Reading the Bones."
Strong.
And,
strong.
That is,
shout out Keith Merrow.
Produced by himself. And I'm not saying this is like the least produced. It's not like that. It's just out of
the least of the list.
Yeah. So anyway, this one he has done everything. using basically like half of digital and half
Analog.
actual analog amplifiers and stuff. So what he would do is like maybe pan certain guitars certain way and then use Kemper profiler on top of it, and then maybe use another channel and then bring in
a lot of
actual,
not signal blending, but just layering of
multiple,
different amps and tones and
yeah,
stuff. Right.
and then he did that out of his basement basically, but he didn't really mic any amplifiers, but he kind of took an actual amplifier head and then kind of did some. There's this like load separation and shit like that, which goes directly into the computer. So that was a crazy thing, and
that is wild. I didn't know he
so
did
he
that.
he just ran from the head and still got that tone. That's pretty wild.
It's a way you can like divert the power where you don't have to use a VSC and just go straight through your computer.
It's the same like basic principle is like daisy chaining fucking PA.
Essentially, pretty much.
So instead of having like a 4x4 or 2x4 or whatever, so your amplifier basically it goes directly into the sound card. So that gives you a nice different flavor. Yeah, it's a different kind of flavor.
Sick.
So that would be my number 5, and number 4 is Firepower by Judas Priest.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, okay.
Nice, going with
Deep
something fresh.
Yeah, dude.
And
the most recent one.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
The producer is Andy Sneap.
Yeah,
so,
and he plays on it. So.
Yeah, he does play on it.
Andy Sneap,
live
master
he does.
par excellence.
Yeah.
But actual recording has what's his name? Not KK Downing. Who's the
Glenn Tipton.
Not Glenn Tipton, the other person, Richie Falcon.
Richie Falcon. Yeah, but I thought that Andy, because they have dual guitars, I thought Andy did the second guitar.
Live.
Right, I thought he did it recording too.
I don't think so. I don't think
Richie did both guitars on there, but I could be wrong.
He easily could have.
Oh, I know. He's a badass.
True.
He's a badass.
But either way, Firepower, of course, the genre is completely like power metal, whatever. But then
it's Priest.
It's Priest. So it makes it sound like a Priest album. So I like Firepower overall.
Oh yeah.
And number 3 would be Ulcerate. Stare.
Oh yeah, let's go. I was listening on the way here.
So I researched this, but then like I didn't find the name of the producer. I think it was just saying Self. So might be one of those members. So
it's probably Jamie St. Merritt, I bet
maybe,
you, because he produces shit in the spirits. I'm pretty sure.
And again, my only complaint with this one is that the bass is not as audible, is not as in the front as it's supposed to.
Right, which is weird because the vocalist is the bassist. You'd think, but I mean, obviously the fucking focus is mostly on the guitars. I mean, the drums are doing, as you know, nutty shit.
Wouldn't you attribute that to the black metal vibe that they're trying to give, which is very normally like trebly?
I think they're giving a black metal vibe, but I've said that to other people who are Ulcerate fans, and they say that they are more rooted in death metal, which I would have agreed with earlier in their career. Like Everything is Fire.
I would think they're more black metal.
They were like Everything is Fire, Destroyers of All. Like I would have said, they're more death metal adjacent, but like now, Staring to Death. That's a way more black metal-y vibe they're going for, a way more emotional black metal type vibe. I mean, maybe they're trying to.
I mean, they got elements of both. Don't get me wrong, but I put them more towards black metal than I do.
I do too.
The reason why
because they kind of value like emotion over technicality.
Well, that's what their vocals are all about
and stuff like that.
And the reason why I picked these guys is because they play lots of dissonant cards, So and those are easily one of those like 4 or 5 string cards. So if the production is not right, you can't hear that dissonance,
Yeah, like one of their records, I think it was Everything is Fire. He was like, I never just played like the open E string on any one of the songs. Like every single song, there's not just a straight anything like that.
There is something going on.
Michael Hoggart's a beast, dude.
Okay, that's number 3, and number 2 is Silosis, Cycle of Suffering.
Nice, Silosis. That's the first time Silosis have been shouted out on the show, but they're a killer band.
That's what I was like, while going through this, I was thinking, how come we have not spoken about Silosis all this while, Because great...
One of those bands is great, but you just don't think about it.
You
know what I mean? Like, they just don't spring to your mind for whatever reason.
And the producer is Josh Middleton, who's also the guitarist and vocalist, I believe.
Right on.
So we left off with Silosis as your pick.
Yeah. And then number 1 is, I don't know how to pronounce this, but then Gojira's La Font, or however you say that. La Font Sauvage.
Yes.
Font Sauvage.
That is an amazing album.
And the producer is Josh Wilbur. And I don't know of his work, but then this particular album...
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, that does sound familiar for some reason. I could never tell you a record that you did,
it sounds very new to me as well. But this album in particular, they used... just the standard EVH 5150, which is, the signature sound of Gojira.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I saw in an interview where Joe, the lead vocalist, he was saying that he wanted it to sound like a classic rock album, and I was surprised. I'm like, how is
it
that?
does not sound like classic
No,
rock.
no, not at all.
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
But then he was saying that the guitar tone, like he wanted like a very crunchy tone,
Right.
but they're
Right.
still tuned down to like D standard, but it would sound very different, So
That is because he's a big Morbid Angel disciple.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's a big Trey Azagthoth fan.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real weird...
they even covered like a Morbid Angel song in one of their live
Yeah,
shows and shit.
yeah.
Like that.
Oh,
So,
which
yeah.
one? Do you know?
They cover Where the Slime Live, I
Yeah.
thought.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And they did like Roots, Bloody Roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would do like a small compilation of their like favorite songs on live, but that was kind of fun.
That's tight.
So that's my top 5.
All right, Carrick.
I don't have a whole lot to add to this conversation. It's more like I was thinking like what kind of producers like impacted a lot, and then what kind of producers just made really badass fucking albums.
Yeah.
Like you
Shit,
actually
that's valid.
you said one, and this is in no specific order, but Roots Bloody Roots, man. The first time I fucking heard that album, I never heard anything quite like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really I was at a point where I was kind of getting tired of like radio metal and shit.
Sure.
And I heard that album, and it kind of like revitalized my love and made me dig a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? Because I was getting tired of I was getting kind of worn out on your Slipknots and all that shit. And I'm not like mad at you for liking Slipknot, but it just like Roots Bloody Roots. Like when I heard that album, it kind of made all the other radio shits like you can do this, but you can do it right. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, yeah, Max Calaveras. I mean, he stood the test
Max
of time.
Calaveras, dude, Fear Factory and fucking his
Or Cavalier, however the fuck you say his last name.
He had a
But
solo
anyway,
band, and I mean, he's been in so many different fucking things, but everything he ever touched was pretty damn good. You know what I mean?
Especially old school Sepultura is great.
Yeah, but
Schizophrenia, dude.
You may not like every album, but you cannot argue that it's all quality. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's in my opinion, that's a telltale sign of a fucking producer.
Badass, yeah.
And his brother Igor Cavalier, great drummer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had that kind of seed. My kid just wants to be a YouTuber.
Hey, man. He knows where the money's at.
I
That's
was
a
gonna
smart
say,
kid,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
That's a smart... I wish I had thought to do that.
One of the producers that I would put on just best producers of all time, and it's not metal, it's
Hey.
that motherfucker right there, Dr. Dre.
Let's
Dr.
go.
Dre took
Okay.
hip hop from Busy Bee and Sugar Hill Gang and shit to NWA and gangster rap, put grit. What it did was it made it if you think about Sugar Hill Gang and things like that, they were good, but they followed up disco. It was another kind of dance hall fad. And Dr. Dre took hip hop from being a dance hall fad into being a culturally significant movement. You know what I mean? And whether you like hip hop or not, you cannot doubt this guy's skills and what he's
That's for sure. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Nothing he has touched has not turned to $1 million gold.
And I'm
that's just
the
the way.
Chronic, that album right there, the Chronic that's sitting up on that wall is it's a classic.
That's a gold standard album.
It's so good.
It's a gold standard album.
I would also, and I got one more hip hop guy, but Tech Nine, every single one, I would almost consider him prog hip hop. You could sniff. But
I don't know about prog hip hop either. But go ahead.
He uses things in his beats and shit like that. I don't know if he produces it himself, but whoever is producing Tech Nine's albums, they really step outside the box. So if Dr. Dre is the gold standard of hip hop, then Tech Nine's the guy that's breaking those barriers, and I respect that.
Fair enough. Hey, listen, dude is one of the top-selling independent artists that's ever lived.
I think he is
he might be number one
highest-selling independent
outside of
rapper
ICP
of all time. Yeah,
Might, but he's the respect to that.
Shit. Okay, I'm about to fuck all y'all up. You know what a great producer is? Mikey Clark. Mikey Clark and the Gangster Fun Band. You may not like ICP. You may not pay attention to ICP, but you cannot deny that ICP is here and they're not going anywhere. And that's because their first 4 fucking albums were produced by this asshole.
Those dudes are richer than I will probably ever be in my life.
I'm pretty sure our entire audience is juggalos.
But are y'all down with the clown? Comment down below.
Do you have love for the hatchet? Comment below.
Well, you know what though? I manage, co-manage the page, right?
Yeah.
So on YouTube, we do have juggalos because they keep commenting sex with me, you know?
Family.
We're not making fun of you if you're clicking.
Not at all. Not at all. If you fuck with the Juggalos, that's fine.
No, but like, I'm not gonna lie.
We're happy to have it.
But again, okay, sure, so if I'm talking like even from a non-joking standpoint, like horrorcore rap, however it's received,
Brother
is a
Lynch
fucking thing. And Mikey Clark is responsible for part of that. You know what I mean? Same way that like we're gonna talk about like genre-defining producers, good records. They fucked every one of their artists over, but there would be no soul or rhythm and blues without good records. You know what I mean?
Showing off right. You're wrong.
And you cannot deny that Juggalos are legion, bro. Like they're everywhere.
I mean, again, they wouldn't be that rich if those motherfuckers weren't coming and paying for that shit and like, like for real, straight like that.
But then we're gonna talk. If we're gonna talk about just producers again that like define genres, like Butch Vig.
Oh yeah, strong.
Butch Vig, like, and I'm again, whether you like grunge and punk or not, he really made those not punk necessarily, but he infused punk with grunge to like kind of catapult it to a level where it's not going away.
He's a very forward-thinking guy. You could say without argument. He's very
had his finger on the pulse of what kids wanted to hear. As corny as that sounds.
And more than that, like I said, he saw it then, but he saw what it was going to be 5 or more years down the road.
Which I will always make the case. Like he brought up Judas Priest. One of the things that is a quintessential part of Judas Priest's longevity is the fact that their producers always kind of have their finger on that pulse of like what people are gonna fucking be into. And so that's 4 for me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. My 5th one, whoever did the first Wiggles album.
Nah.
Laugh all you want. That guy netted like $9 billion.
Honorable mention Barry Gibb, who produced Islands in the Stream, featuring Kenny Loggins and Dolly Parton.
It's so
because
weird.
he was the one who made the suggestion to bring Dolly Parton onto that because it was supposed to be a solo by Kenny Loggins. So that's all I'm going to say.
It's so weird that you said Barry Gibb. I was literally driving down the street the other day.
We've officially gone off the rails.
I'm serious, but...
Hold up, I have a Barry Gibb story. It's weird that you said Barry Gibb, because you want to crack on the Bee Gees and all you want, but man, I was listening to fucking Staying Alive on the radio the other day while I was driving down the street, and I was like, that is a dope bass line. Like, it really fucking
is. Shit is funky.
It is funky as shit. Anyway, fuck Mark V. Kearns.
Yeah, listen to ABBA.
Up Barry Gibb.
Hey, agreed. Take a chance on us.
There you go.
Scoop your mitts.
There you go.
No, don't do that. Please don't do that.
You're listening to Warlord Radio Podcast. Please hit like and subscribe at the bottom.